In this SOD TV's Warcraft Logs update, we turn our focus to the player who has been dominating the leaderboard, which is none other than Nightsong. This exceptional Shaman spec tank, a part of the Summers Guild on the Living Flame EU server, has now held the one spot a remarkable 24 times. Nightsong's strategic gameplay and unparalleled skills have truly set the bar high for other players in the WoW Classic community. Hot on Nightsong's heels are some equally formidable players. Hunter melee player Tree Ranger also holds an impressive record of reaching the one spot 24 times. Close behind is Mage Frost player Watch Tome and Rogue Tank player Nerf Assassin, both of whom have secured the top spot 19 times. Rounding out the top 5 is Warlock tank player Enigms XX, who has claimed the one position 18 times. In the balanced Druid category, Innate from the guild Humbertism has been holding the top spot for the past week with a consistent DPS of 1110.0, showcasing an impressive performance. Following closely is Fuel from the guild Male Models, maintaining the second position with a DPS of 1079.8. The third spot is held by Sint from the guild Blessed X, delivering a DPS of 1069.3. The remaining top 10 players are Uatism, Hotmas, Perrin, Centripetal, Honeycow, Blazarus, and Adriu. In the Feral Druid category, BGTD from the guild B Tribe continues to dominate with a DPS of 1517.3, maintaining the top spot for over a week now. Hot on their heels is Parspolis from Silver Saga continues, delivering a DPS of 1498.7, and Lawsuit from the same guild, holding strong with a DPS of 1459.5. Also worth mentioning are the remaining top 10 players who continue to make their mark Africantiger, Swagnuts, Endef, Melee Varus, Cyclonogist, and Mindificrank. In the Guardian Druid category, Pumpeaks from the guild HUSH continues to dominate with a DPS of 867.1, holding the top spot for over a week now. NMX from the guild Chinese Textile Machine follows closely with a DPS of 848.2, and Cadet from the guild B Tribe rounds out the top 3 with a DPS of 832.6. The remaining top 10 players, who are also making their mark in the Guardian Druid category, are Sudoaptit, Kildrepuli, Minitz XTK, Ankler, Vistalo, and Perobar. In the Melee Hunter category, Tree Ranger continues to dominate with a DPS of 1556.9, holding this top spot for over a week now. Representing the Cartel Guild from Living Flame US, Tree Ranger's consistent performance is commendable. Close on his heels is Olgi from the Dendansky Medtoad Guild with a DPS of 1514.9, and Johnny Sins from the Oxygen Guild rounds out the top 3 with a DPS of 1507.9. Both hail from Living Flame EU and Lone Wolf EU respectively. The remaining top 10 melee hunters, showcasing their prowess in the game, are Rezorth, Yanglachi, Zatara, Cornshot, Minyaros, Wafflefreeze, and Tenokti. In the ranged hunter category, Krusty Mill from the guild ADHD has taken the lead with a DPS of 1455.1, dethroning Isolde Out, who held the top spot for over a week with a DPS of 1432.2. Floriberries maintains the third position with a DPS of 1407.5. The remaining top 10 players, who continue to show remarkable performance, are Orlandodomer, Fragmaster, Tubalumpkin, Aivix, Makes, Tribalis, and Halavic. In the Arcane Mage category, Musaka is from the guild and Not Sure retains the top spot for over a week now, consistently delivering a DPS of 726.1. Following closely, Burnett from New Game Plus Guild holds the second position with a DPS of 724.6, while Dilpu secures the third spot with a DPS of 719.0. The competition remains fierce among the rest of the top 10, including Moonfox, Digidoo, Magical Paul, Cuties, Minervamage, Tylon, and Nuju. In the Fire Mage category, Chef from the guild Apophysis has held the top spot for the past week with an impressive DPS of 1196.2. Close on his heels is Delano from the guild Parse, maintaining a steady DPS of 1195.3. The third spot is held by QIA Chiaju Jiayi from the guild Yuan QI, with a DPS of 1177.8. The remaining top 10 for today, in no particular order, are Melowish Tumu Charmer, Magisula, Corbs, Duchinum, Gilizi, and PM. In the Frost Mage category, Silvership from Godogan Nogde KR has taken the lead with a DPS of 1108.1, a notable achievement in the guild Eolrinigib. Watchtome, who has held the 1 position for over a week, remains a strong contender from Lone Wolf EU with a DPS of 1039.4. Juicy from Living Flame EU in the Guild Capsule Corp maintains the 3rd spot with a DPS of 1033.7. The remaining top 10 players, who continue to showcase their prowess, are Wixard, Just Like Fire, KFC, Obi, Clankum, TDMZ, and Vetmage. In the Protection Paladin category, Fought from the Guild Xuanchang continues to dominate, holding the top spot for the past 3 days with a DPS of 1299.2. Close on Fout's heels is He Ermaici, who has also maintained their position for 3 consecutive days, boasting a DPS of 1291.7. Rounding out the top 3 is Boysothic from the Guild Who Asked, with a DPS of 1230.6. This trio has shown remarkable consistency, but let's not forget the remaining top 10 players who are also making their mark 1 punch: Fakiaz, Farvold, Kazurkti, and Ming, Jiaruo, and Pinksheets. In the Retribution Paladin category, Qiyu continues to hold the top spot for over a week now, consistently delivering a DPS of 1429.4. Close on his heels is Palwang, who has been maintaining a DPS of 1412.7. Milocyrus has also shown a slight improvement in his DPS, going from 1376.8 to 1380.3 today. The remaining top 10 players for today are Fidan, Peteri, Elfchapo, Jinix, Funky Kong, Muse, and Tony Doublelig. In the Shadow Priest category, the top 3 players continue to dominate the charts. Shen Yuanjin retains the number 1 spot with a consistent DPS of 1029.3, holding this position for the past 4 days. Following closely, we have Zhonggu Luzhu with a DPS of 983.9, and Shengdu Di Liangxin rounding out the top 3 with a DPS of 977.9. The remaining top 10 players, each with their own impressive stats and achievements, are Theradrin, Waga, Alp, Flayed, Tachenkin, Kasupanim, and Smore. In the DPS Rogue category, Enwich from the Guild Link Logs has held the top spot for over a week with a DPS of 1545.5, demonstrating remarkable consistency. Close behind, Naringhai He from the Guild Eolrinigib boasts a DPS of 1535.7, while Sil from the Guild Dindansky Moto rounds out the top 3 with a DPS of 1533.4. Notable mentions go to the remaining top 10 players: Ajanin, Jushui Dai, Iwanel, Body Snatcher, Tunayu, Kodinelul, and Fang. Their impressive stats and achievements continue to shape the competitive landscape of the DPS Rogue category. In the Tank Rogue category, Nerf Assassin from the Guild Nerf Shadow Club continues to hold the top spot for the 10th consecutive day, boasting a DPS of 1096.4. Following closely behind is Nova, with a DPS of 1062.4. Zombie secures the 3rd position with a DPS of 1058.7. The remaining top 10 players who are also worth mentioning for their remarkable performance are Bopo Tank, Sketcher, Ochenta, Wool, Lesrance, Katu, and Sion. In the Elemental Shaman category, Relix from the Guild Ego continues to dominate the leaderboard, holding the number 1 position for over a week now with a DPS increase from 1261.4 to 1303.6. Bread Gloves from the Male Models Guild maintains the 2nd spot with a steady DPS of 1235.8. Piaifu Wulu Lei holds the 3rd spot with a DPS of 1206.2. The rest of the top 10 in no particular order includes Roxarone, Mortytide, Hexmuther, Rumbles, Jal, Zorlak, and Ositza. In the Enhancement Shaman category, Brigand from the Guild Hooligans has held the top spot for the past week, consistently delivering a DPS of 1608.4. Close on his heels is NA from the Guild Dindansky Medode, with a DPS of 1596.9. Rounding out the top 3 is Fake Ban from the Guild Male Models, who has maintained a DPS of 1566.4. The remaining top 10 players, who also deserve recognition for their performances, are Schnaps, Iopeachum, Easy, Mahatwo, Hextazy, Bossiter, and Barsney. In the Tank Shaman category, Night Song from the Guild Summers holds the top position for the 10th consecutive day with a DPS of 1147.5. Not far behind, Rolpi from the Guild Consortium maintains the 2nd spot with a DPS of 1131.0. Today we see a new face in the top 3, Vistelo from the Guild Conspiracy, who has climbed the ranks with a DPS of 1,126.9. As for the remaining top 10, we have Iwo, Dan Qiu, Dar Sipikup, Luuf, Bjorgen, Walks, and Shamsky. In the DPS Warlock category, Xiao Jin Xiaisheng Yu Hen from the guild Yuan Qi holds the top spot for the second consecutive day with a DPS of 1,215.6, maintaining a lead over Taco from the guild Angles with a DPS of 1,203.6, and Keys from the guild Dragonslayers with a DPS of 1,201.7. Notably, Xiao Jin Xiaisheng Yu Hen has held this position for 2 days, a testament to their consistent performance. Rounding out the top 10 are Jegyo Riang, Amaedo, Firamatic Wayne Warlock, Pantslock, Strawberry, and Demons, each showcasing their prowess in the game. In the Tank Warlock category, OpenCoil holds the top spot for the 8th consecutive day, maintaining a DPS of 1,100.1, a feat achieved with the Connect Guild. Following closely is Enigmes X, also from the Connect Guild, with a consistent DPS of 1,045.0. Lobster, representing Mud Hut Elite, secures the 3rd position with a DPS of 1,040.2. Notably, OpenCoil's reign as the top player is the longest in recent times. The remaining top 10 players, known for their impressive gameplay, are John Randomdo, Dinosaur, TikToxic, GigaPro Max, Peak, Gravewalker, and Barot. In the Fury Warrior category, Sopato from the guild Ego continues to dominate with a DPS of 1,801.5, holding the top position for over a week now. Duki, representing the guild Standards, follows closely with a DPS of 1,738.4, while Atasmos from the guild Chinese Textile Machine rounds off the top 3 with a DPS of 1,700.7. The remaining top 10 players, who are also worth mentioning for their impressive stats, include Mogpio, Fudgy, Subtamiov, Google That, Twaraki, Saroswar, and Sturdy. In the Protection Warrior category, the top 3 players continue to hold their positions. Duo Luo Saizu, leading with a DPS of 1,620.9, has held the number 1 spot for over a week, demonstrating exceptional skill and consistency. Following closely, we have Bodil with a DPS of 1,567.5, and Agony, who rounds out the top 3 with a DPS of 1,557.3. Notable mentions go to the remaining top 10 players who continue to challenge the leaderboard SufferX, Ogiez, Butang, Seachart, Threat, Kabir, and Inshi Yu. Their performances are not to be overlooked as they continue to strive for the top.